Hey, hi everyone.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hello
Yeah.
there. How are you?
Sorry, man, I think I had some audio issue. Let me just should be fine. Sorry, man. Yeah. Hi everyone. So hope I'm audible.
Yeah. Hello there.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes.
Welcome to our meeting. Trying to see if any of the maintainers will join. I got a message from Yuri Zarev saying he wouldn't be joining us today, but I wanted to see if Mikhail or Giri would join us. Is there any topic any of you would like to add to the agenda?
So I have few queries. Can I ask at the end of the meeting, right? So it should not be part of agenda.
Sure. Sure, of course. So given that we are 5 minutes past, I would start off with this pull request from Vitor. So Vitor, if I recall correctly, this is you actually have two PRs, right? This one and another one.
Exactly. One, it's only for documentation and a sample documentation and a solution. And the other one is regarding some changes on the Helm chart in order to support this GSS TSIG authentication.
This one.
Yeah. Because at this moment, the Helm chart only accepts GSS config, and for Kerberos authentication, we need GSS TSIG config. So we needed to, I did some changes in order to enable that as well.
So these two pull requests enable support for RFC 2136.
Yes.
Right? So bind, Windows
Kerberos.
DNS, and that sort of thing, right?
Right now it works with bind because bind uses GSS, but for Windows DNS, it uses Kerberos, of course, and it needs to use this specific GSS TSIG. So yeah, this enables that. It's just a question of adding some extra parameters to the deployment.
Okay. So probably the most useful topic here would probably be to have an action for Judy or for Yuri.
Yeah. Right now they are pending review, so someone needs to check if everything is fitting their ideas, and if they need something else, I will gladly fix it and improve it in order to get this going forward.
Okay. Regarding updates on Azure support, so we have two work streams for Azure support. specifically one to support Azure Public DNS service so that we can, using external DNS, update an Azure Public DNS zone with the right text and A records. The blocker that we had there had to do with authentication, because I think Sebastian had a PR using pod identity, and that has been deprecated. So we needed to start supporting, well, basically user assigned managed identity or workload identity. I have that working on my machine. So I need to make sure it works on more than my machine and run a couple of tests. I'm going to ask Seb to review that and package that into a PR and hopefully finish that one. And the other story has to do with private DNS, Azure private DNS zone, because there are some restrictions for private DNS in Azure, things like text files, text records. And for that one, of course, we also need to fix the authentication, and that we'll do with the same code for the public DNS. But I'm still having some issues there that I need to iron out and update you guys later on this one. Hi, Mikhail. So I think those were the topics on the agenda, and we can probably move on to other questions. So feel free to share.
I just have one question on that Azure support. So basically, that is about that SIG external DNS support for Azure, or maybe is there something I can read about on Azure?
So if you are targeting Azure public DNS zone, we can do that using service principals currently. So if you authenticate, if you create, if you register the application and use that as a service principal to update the DNS zone, that works. That's how we did, for instance, that's how we demoed it on KubeCon. And let me just try to get a link for you on that. Just a second. Okay, this one. So I'll just put it in our chat. So in this repo, you can find an example of using k8gb against Azure Public DNS records with a service principal for authentication. What we're trying to do now is to move to other authentication patterns, such as managed identity and workload identity.
Thanks, man. I'll go through this one. If I have any doubts, I'll post it in the channel.
Yeah, and as always, feel free to ping in Slack with any questions you might have.
Sure.
Mikhail, hi there.
Hi, good afternoon.
Do you want to share your inputs or comments for today?
Basically, no, I can later. I probably will have only one update very soon. We just update to k8gb core DNS plugin because we found there some issue that, well, not issue, but it's not going through together with the RFC. If you, let's say, make a DNS request and you use the case sensitive DNS name, it may happen that it returns NX domain instead of the list of expected addresses. So there will be some fix into the latest. So that's just from my corner.
Cool. Cool. So I guess if we have no other topics, I'd say that's it for today. Until our next meeting, I think we should try to wrap up these 2 PRs. But I'd say we'll talk in Slack about that.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. Can I ask now?
Oh, go ahead, please.
Okay, this was, I mean, I was just reading through the k8gb as I was giving on presentation in my local community meetup. So I had few questions, follow-up questions, so which I was not clear how things works over that. So basically, for a service object, let's say there are like currently k8gb work for ingress object, right? So if you have an ingress object with host name, I mean, you can able to route across multiple Kubernetes cluster across regions. So let's say I have a service of external name, service object with external name. That do we support that as well, or? Because for some application which is not based on HTTP, which is using UDP or TCP, they can just use a service name which is externally exposed with load balancer IP or external with registered with an external domain name. So in that case, it doesn't have an ingress object to it. So it's just a service object. So do we?
Yeah, here's my thought, completely untested, and hopefully Mikhail will correct me if I say anything wrong. But I think in the end, what k8gb looks at is the health of service endpoints. So yes, if you have a valid service endpoint, I don't see, top of mind, I don't see any particular reason for it not, for instance, to implement round robin or whatever pattern you choose.
Okay, but okay, we need to listen for the ingress. I mean, currently we are listening for the ingress object change and update the service, right? So this for service object, we are doing it or not? Yeah, might be I'll give a test and then update. Might be I can give a try, but yeah, I mean.
In the end, you if I understand your scenario correctly, you're creating an ingress on top of a service that is an external name.
So I was not creating an ingress at all. I was just creating a service with external name.
And then you're using the CRD from k8gb to expose that service. I mean, because in the end, it's an ingress that needs to exist, right?
Yeah, that's what my question is all about. Because let's say if it is not an HTTP protocol, it is, let's say, UDP or some other drift, like, I mean, some non-HTTP based protocol. But I can create a service object and I can, let's say I have a public IP and or external name. I mean, I was just asking with the DNS, since it is based on top of DNS, right? So it can, I mean, it can discover the service names as well, right? So similar to how we are doing an ingress discovery of the host names.
Mikhail, do you have any details top of mind?
Yeah. If I understand correctly, you are building service type load balancer, right?
Yes.
With the external name. Yeah. Basically, k8gb, what it now supports, it basically we use the ingresses. We have the ingress vouchers implemented and the reader ingresses, and the GSLB itself uses the ingresses. But we have like a separate project, which is still not migrated. It is called k8gb Lite, and there would be like a support for the other kind of resources like gateways as well as services, but it is not implemented yet. Even in k8gb Lite, there is no service directly implemented yet. So what you have to do is you have to go through ingresses now.
Okay, or I can, if I want, I can also take that up
Yeah.
and explore and contribute as well. I mean, if that is a valid use case for others as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
because the reason, like when I was experimenting with other vendor-based solutions like other vendors like proprietary softwares, which is around multi-cluster load balancing, they have this service name based routing. I mean, so yeah, I think if this is a valid use case, I can
Yeah.
take the work on it actually. So I just want to confirm that. So before I want to explore further, yeah, then I'll do that.
Because ideally you would have like a service type load balancer, and you just annotate it with Windows stuff with configuration, and it would work as you expect. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Maybe I'm not sure if there is an issue created for that in the k8gb, but if not, just create an issue.
Sure, I'll create an
cool.
issue and kind of
Yeah, on the k8gb.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks. When I mean, this was a question when I presented it, it came around, and when I was presenting this topic, so I didn't have the answer, so I said I need to get back on that. So that's why I wanted to join this call and then make sure I give the right answer to the guys who asked this.
Yeah, cool, definitely, 100%.
Sure, man. Thanks for answering my basic questions, doubts. So it's really nice to meet you, folks.
No, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining.
I mean, see you next meeting. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
See you.
See you on the next one.
Bye.
Sorry, man. I missed one more question to ask. So, I mean, do we let's say we have a projects like Linkerd and Istio. It's an open source community project. They have a paid support as well, like company like Buoyant or Tetrate for Istio. They provide support or paid support for their products, right? So for community products, so is there, for k8gb, is there anything that is available? Let's say somebody is not well versed in managing the clusters, but they found the k8gb is really useful, and they want, for a backup, they want a support sort of thing. Do anybody is providing sort of these things actually? So this is also somebody asked this question, so I just wanted to check with you guys. Yes, I didn't find any. I mean, I couldn't figure it out. So.
Miguel, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, maybe good question, but for wrong people. We are not full team here.
Okay.
So for that, I just don't want to give you some wrong answers. Maybe you should also ask on the k8gb in the questions, or raise the issue, and probably Dinar or Yuri will pick that up.
Sure, man.
And give you the right answer, because actually I'm not sure if I'm the right one who can answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, I'll post those questions in channel or the GitLab.
No.
GitLab.
Yeah, or go directly to Slack, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do it this way. Yeah. Yeah. Yuri just have a vacation now, so it will take some time until he can answer.
Sure, man. That's really good.
Yeah. Good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you too. Have a
Bye.
nice afternoon.
You too.
Bye bye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.